respected devotees, we are fortunate to have the chance to listen to discourses, spiritual discourses again. And it says that not only listening is sufficient. After listening to spiritual discourses, we must contemplate on it, think over it. And when we contemplate on the satsang, listened on the spiritual discourses, then slowly we come to understand that actually what I have to do, how I have to do. Because there is two things, knowledge and action. Unless there is a combination, a coordination of knowledge and action in our life, we are a failure. Because it says that when Arjuna was about to fight the Mahabharata war, at that time Lord Krishna gave him knowledge. So a learned person asked Maharajji that at the time of the war, why Krishna gave knowledge to Arjuna? He should have talked about how to fight a war, how to be victorious. So many the ways to fight the war, the different actions he should perform, that should have been taught. Why Lord Krishna talked about knowledge, spiritual knowledge during that critical period? So Maharaji gave a beautiful answer. He said that Arjuna knew a lot about the war. He knew everything about the warfare. He knew how to even enter the Chakravyuh. He was very expert in warfare, and so he could win the war. But when he saw his relatives, his spiritual teachers, all connected people, friends, standing in opposition as an enemy, he got frustrated. His mind got disbalanced. That why I should kill my relatives, why I should fight a war. And his mind got disbalanced. So with a disbalanced mind, he could never have won the war. But when Lord Krishna gave him the knowledge, by meditating on which he could balance his mind, then he was victorious. And this happens to us also. We are doing any work, if our mind is not in balance, we will not be so successful in that very work. So, knowledge and action, there has to be coordination of both the things. First, we have to have the knowledge how to control the mind, how to meditate, what is the perfect way of controlling the mind, to bring the mind in balance. And then we have to practice and bring the mind in balance and then perform actions. That's what Lord Krishna says. Tashmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmar yuddhacha. Oh Arjuna, you do all your works and along with that meditate on the holy name also. It's surprising. Generally we will think, how is it possible? Fight a war and meditate also. When you are fighting a war, you have to save yourself, kill the enemy. And in that critical moment, how can we meditate on the holy name? But friends, there is such a holy name of God through which we can even meditate during such a critical moment. And so, when we meditate on that name, what it does, it brings our mind in balance. And so when the mind is balanced, our actions become superior. Whatever action we are doing, whatever may be our job, whether we are studying, whether we are doing some service, whether we are driving, whatever work we are doing, whether we are having a photography, whatever, anything that we do, if our mind is in balance, if our mind is concentrated, we'll excel in that work. So excellence comes through the concentration of mind. So mind is a vital factor in our life. The more we understand the mind, the more we understand the functions of the mind, and more we bring meditation into our life, the more we spend a happy and peaceful life. Yesterday we were discussing about 4 types of blessings. And the final blessing is our own. We have to meditate. Nobody else can do anything for that. If you are to eat, if you are hungry, and if you are to eat food, if we think that somebody else will eat and our hunger will be satisfied, it never happens. If we are to satisfy our hunger, we have to eat ourselves. Similarly, to have peaceful life, to have peace of mind, to have a balanced mind, we have to meditate ourselves. And without meditation, there is no salvation, there is no peace, there is no happiness, there is no satisfaction in life. That's what the scriptures say, that if you want to have balance in your life, you have to meditate. You have to bring your mind in balance. But friends, how to bring the mind in balance? The same problem when Lord Krishna says to Arjuna to bring the mind in balance, Arjuna says it's almost difficult. It's almost impossible to bring the mind in balance, to control the mind. I can do many wonderful works. I can even do many miraculous things, but to control the mind is like controlling the air, atmosphere. So, Lord Krishna, it's very difficult. You are saying to control the mind, but I find it very, very difficult. Then Lord says, no, Arjuna, it's possible. 2 things are important for that. Renunciation and practice. With these 2 things, you can control the mind. So, for renunciation, detachment from worldly desires, it comes through spiritual discourses. When we listen to spiritual discourses, slowly we understand that this body is temporary. One day I have to leave this world, and my own actual form is the spirit, the soul dwelling within this body. I am not body, I am not intellect, I am not mind, I am not the senses, I am something away from it. And that is the spirit, the soul, the energy dwelling within us. And so I have to fulfill the desire of the soul. I have to know why I have come into this world. So, when we listen to all these spiritual discourses, slowly the detachment, thinking of renunciation comes in our mind. So, spiritual discourses, satsang helps us in having renunciation, plus practice. So, on what should we practice through which we can control the mind? This is something very, very vital that we have to understand. We do many types of worships, many types of puja, many types of penances, many types of, the worldly rituals. But while doing those things, if we analyze them, our mind keeps on wandering. People make a rosary, they rotate a rosary and counting the beads. At that time also, the hand is revolving the rosary, Mouth is uttering some mantra, but the mind is roaming everywhere. So spiritual people say this is not meditation, this is not the real worship, this is not the real worship of God. For that, unless your mind is connected to God, that's not real meditation, that's not real practice. So how to, anything. Suppose I am to practice shooting. So if I want to practice shooting, I need an object, a target on which I have to practice shooting. If I have no target and somebody asks me without giving a target, you practice shooting, how can we practice it? So first we are given a target, a black hole is there, and we are asked to shoot in that black hole. And so that on that black spot when we shoot, we say, yes, I have hit the target. If it is going left, right, then we have not hit the target. So when the target is there, then we can practice. So Lord Krishna says to Arjuna to practice. Practice on what? What is the object of meditation? What is the target? So there are two types of target. A physical target and a metaphysical target. If you are concentrating the mind on a physical target, that's physical meditation. And if you are concentrating the mind on some metaphysical target, that is metaphysical concentration. So we have to analyze ourselves. We have to think our own self, that on which I am targeting, the object on which I am targeting, concentrating the mind, whether that object is physical or metaphysical. And generally, friends, the so-called meditation, we meditate on an object, we concentrate the mind, connect the mind on an object which is physical. Some put a black spot, they concentrate on that. Some put a candlelight and they concentrate on that. Some concentrate on the sun. Some do imagine something and contemplate on that. Whether anything is connected with the brain or the senses is physical. And so the meditation that we are doing is actually physical meditation. And that physical meditation will not help, it will not concentrate the mind permanently. The mind cannot merge in physical things because the mind itself is metaphysical. The original form of mind is metaphysical. Of course, it becomes physical to pass the energy of consciousness to the body. It becomes physical, but its actual form is metaphysical. So a metaphysical thing can never merge in a physical thing. For that we need something metaphysical. So what is the metaphysical within us? I once talked about Vipassana meditation, if you remember. One person came to me and he asked me the difference between Vipassana meditation and the meditation that we are talking. I said, Vipassana meditation is physical and I am talking about metaphysical meditation. He said, how it is so? He wanted to understand it. I said, in Vipassana we meditate on the breath. In Vipassana meditation we are taught to concentrate on the breath. And what is breath? It is oxygen and carbon dioxide. Oxygen coming in, carbon dioxide going out. So, oxygen and carbon dioxide both are physical. Science has been able to analyze them. That oxygen is, they give a symbol O2 for oxygen, and for carbon dioxide they give CO2, combination of carbon and oxygen. So carbon dioxide is also physical oxygen is also physical. So if you are concentrating the mind on something physical, that's physical meditation. And so that is not bad, because it is said something is better than nothing. If you are doing some type of concentration, it helps to some extent, but that is not the perfect one, not the original one, not the final one which can take us to the final destination. Because to merge the mind, to take the mind to its final destination, we need something metaphysical. So that meditation is, in technical terms, physical meditation. Then what is metaphysical meditation? What is the metaphysical entity within us? It is the energy due to which the breathing process is going on. Breath is oxygen, carbon dioxide, but the power behind the breath is something energy, and that energy is metaphysical. Up till now, science has not been able to experience that energy, to make a research on that energy, to realize that energy. None of the scientific instruments could find out that energy. We have got X-ray, we have got so many instruments and through which we can find so many, see, properly observe so many internal things in our body. But none of the scientific instrument could experience the energy, the vital energy due to which the breathing process is going on. That energy of consciousness is metaphysical, and when we destroy matter, we convert matter into energy during explosion of an atom bomb. When the matter is converted into energy, that energy manifests in the form of light and sound. So within us also that energy is within the form of sound and light. That light, we call it divine light. In Sanskrit we call it Bhargo Jyoti, some call it the light of lights, Muslims call it Noor-e-Ilahi. Different names are given to that light, but that energy manifests within us in the name of light and in the name of a vibration. That vibration is beyond expression, beyond vocabulary, beyond languages, beyond the senses and brain. And it's beyond scientific instruments. In simple terms, that vibration is called as holy name. And it was the vibration which created the universe. It is the vibration which is sustaining the universe, and it is the vibration in which the whole world can merge. You see, we think to merge something bigger is required. But now science is proving that a big thing can merge in a small thing. You know, a tree is born from a seed, but tree can be merged again into the seed. That's a reverse process. You can call it hydrolysis, So, actually, that primordial vibration is such a thing. It created the universe, it is sustaining the universe, and one day the world merges in that primordial vibration. That's what we say, Father, Son and the Holy Ghost. Father is the, Son is, we call the creation. In Hinduism they call it Brahma. Father is the creator which is sustaining the world, that we call Vishnu, and the one in which it merges, destroy it, we call it Shankar, and in Christianity they call it Holy Ghost. It's a linguistic difference, but the essence is the same. The three functions of that holy word, the three functions of that primordial vibration: creation, sustenance and destruction. And it is happening in our body also. When we breathe in, cells are created, cells are sustained and cells are destroyed. The creation of cells, the sustenance of cells and the destruction of cells, these three processes are going within our body also. And the same process is going in the whole universe. That's what it says. What is within is without. What is within us is the same thing outside. There is a microscopic form and micro and macro form. So I mean to say that the power due to which the breathing process is going on, that power is metaphysical and it exists within us in the form of sound and light. So when the third eye is opened, we can see that light. Friends, I am using the word to see that light. Imagination and seeing, watching is different. When we go to a picture hall, we sit down there and we don't imagine the picture. We watch the picture. What is coming on the screen, we are just watching there. We don't imagine, we don't contemplate. We just see what is coming before us. We are just an observer. Similarly, once the third eye is opened, it's like a starting of a picture, a spiritual picture. At that time, what is coming before us on the screen, internal screen, we are just watching that. We are an observer of that. We don't imagine at that time. Imagination is a virtue of the left brain, the logical brain. And if you are imagining something, if you are planning something, if you are contemplating, all these virtues are connected with the left brain. That means our mind is connected with the left brain. And so it activates the neurons of the logical brain. It will not activate the right brain, the intuitive brain. For that, the mind has to cut off its connection from the left brain, the logical brain. And it happens when third eye is opened, we see that metaphysical picture, so to say. When that metaphysical reel is going on, and when we are watching that, at that time the mind is disconnected from the logical brain. And that time the energy of the mind activates the neurons of the right brain. So the more we meditate on that metaphysical entity, I am again using the word metaphysical entity, the more right brain neurons will be activated and will become more intuitive, more creative, more balanced in life. And these are the keys to success in life. People do so many things. They try so many things to be a successful person. The activation of right brain is one of the key to success. Really speaking, it's the key to success. And to activate it, we have to disconnect the mind from the logical brain. Our mind does not have brain, and whatever habit we have put in it, it follows that habit. This we have heard many times. But it has to be repeated because this thing we have to understand properly. And we have formed a habit of the mind to be always with the logical brain. If you think over, if you analyze the mind, most of the time it is with the logical brain. So the mind has developed a habit of being with the logical brain. All the time it is going there. So because it has developed a habit, to change the habit, we have to have a strong determination. If we don't have a strong determination, we can't change the habit and will not be able to win the mind. We'll be defeated by the mind. Many people say that, oh, I try to meditate, but the mind goes again in the left brain and thoughts started coming. So I'm unsuccessful, I can't do it. Friends, it looks so, it seems so, but if we have a strong determination that no, I will control the mind, I'll detach the mind from the left brain and put it on the third eye and be a spectator of the film going inside. It's such a beautiful film. It's such a beautiful experience. Once the mind starts enjoying that film, then it will not try to go in the left one. It will desire to remain there. And it happens in meditation. That's why meditators, saints say that till you start enjoying meditation, you have not meditated. When the mind becomes a spectator of the film, the metaphysical film going inside, then the mind says, oh, let's keep on meditating. No, don't go anything, don't do anything. Keep on meditating. This change in the mind comes up. And this is what now mind has started enjoying meditation. And then we start getting the results. So, physical meditation will not be sufficient. We have to practice metaphysical meditation. And to open the third eye, as I said before, the grace of spiritual master is required. An enlightened spiritual master is required, who like Krishna can activate our third eye within seconds. Even not a minute it takes for him to open the third eye. But some people think that opening third eye is everything. That's not, friend. People think that if my third eye is opened, I become omniscient, I've got all the powers within me. That's wrong. After the third eye is open, your work starts. Your meditation starts. Now we have got the proper way to meditate. And then the action is to meditate. That's why there should be combination, coordination of knowledge and action. Once the third eye is open, once we get the metaphysical knowledge by the grace of the spiritual master, then we have to meditate. There is no other way. It says impossible things may become possible in coming times. But this rule is never going to change. Without meditation on the holy name, without metaphysical meditation, you are not going to have satisfaction in life. You are not going to be liberated. You are not going to have salvation. If you want peace, if you want permanent saturation, if you want permanent happiness, if you want permanent satisfaction in life, friends, there is only one way. We have to meditate. And slowly, when we'll connect the mind with the metaphysical entity, slowly the mind will get saturated. You see, like salt and water. We put on adding salt to the water, but at time comes, a solution becomes so thick that we call it saturated. Then after that, even if you add about 1 pinch of salt, it will not dissolve, but it will go down. So we say now the water is saturated with salt. Similarly, when we keep connecting the mind with that spiritual entity within us, the metaphysical entity, which is within us in the form of sound and light, primordial vibration and divine light, slowly the mind will get saturated. And when it will be fully saturated, that is the state of, we call it trance state, liberation state, whatever word may give it. And that's the permanent satisfaction state. And then the mind is merged with that entity. That's our actual goal of human life. So, as the time is about to near up, so again we'll be listening about the mind, the most complex thing and most vital thing that we have to understand. And the more we understand the mind, the more we control the mind, more we make the mind our servant, the more we'll enjoy this life. Otherwise, mind will take us to hell. It will make our life full of sufferings and pains. So let's control the mind. Let's keep listening to spiritual discourses and have a strong determination that I will control the mind. I'll make it my servant. I'll not become the servant of mind. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.